What's up, cool cats? Welcome to the channel. Welcome back if you are new. Good morning. So, y'all, it's a little chilly. So, excuse me being wrapped up in blanket. Okay, so this video is going to be a camping video. I wanted to originally make this video while I was at camp, but if you read the title, Camping Fail. So, we're going to talk about it, and then I'm going to tell you I'm going to tell you 8 things that I wish I knew. Well, not really 8 things I wish I knew, but 8 things that I've learned within the day of going camping. So got 8 tips for you guys and for myself in the future. So give me a second while I pull up my notes. So while I'm pulling up my notes, let me tell y'all. So I had planned for my family and me to go camping at Powhatan State Park. And I checked the weather. Well, see, prior to us actually going, like when it was time for me to reschedule, the weather didn't really mention anything about rain. It was calling for sun or cloudiness, right? So I reserved it. When it got closer to the day, it was calling for rain that week. But the days that it was calling for rain, it actually didn't rain. So I'm like, okay, it probably won't rain, maybe. But it did. And it rained the entire time from the drive there to up until the time that it was time for us to actually pack up the car and leave. So yeah, I'm going to tell you guys what I found out. So this video is all about know before you go. So for the first thing I would say is to, and this is in no particular order of what's important or what's not. I'm just going to read it how I wrote it. So the first thing, my tip number 1, my suggestion number 1 is to set the tent up before you even go camping. Make sure you know how to set your tent up, because one thing about me, we did not do that. I wanted to. I said over and over again that we should definitely put the tent up, but it didn't get done. So my first time putting up this tent took forever because I didn't know how to set the tent up, and the location where we were, the signal was iffy, which is what I wanted, because this whole weekend was going to be electronic free. Where we didn't have electricity. We were near a bathroom, so like our campsite is here, and like there's space, and then the bathroom is right there. Now it's not a bathroom, it's more like a compost toilet. It doesn't have a flusher, so but the bathroom didn't stink. It didn't smell like a porta potty or anything. But yeah, my tip number 1 is to set your tent up. Make sure you know how to set your tent up. When I went to the beach, I had bought this orange smaller tent that fit about 2 people, and I was able to put that up in like 5 minutes. And I wanted to do the same thing with this 9-person tent, but I wasn't able to do that because I didn't have any practice or any experience. And on top of that, it was raining and it was cold. And not only was the weather not cooperating, I was beginning not to cooperate. I was like, F this. This isn't working. So I was just ready to go at that point. But I ended up staying longer, putting up the tent successfully. Sean helped me like toward the end, like actually get the tent up. But so got the tent up, but the tent in the inside was so wet, like puddles and everything, because it was raining, and the tarp is detached. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they have the net, you know how like they have the window nets right there, and they got the little piece that you cover up it. Well, the top of the tent was just there's a net space here and a net space there. So on a non-rainy day, you can catch all that sun, you can see the stars in the sky, and it's all good. But on a rainy day, that SHIT was annoying, and it made it very hard for the tent to dry because I was able to get the water off of the tent floor, but because the top of the tent got so wet, as it's drying, it's also dripping into the tent. On top of that, this is a whole story time, but like on top of that, everything got wet from walking to the car, from the car to the campsite. Like so much got wet. Everything got wet, to be honest. We were wet, the tent was wet, everything was wet. So, number one, set your tent up. It's very important. You might don't think it's important, but watching videos is not enough to figure out how to set the tent up. You literally got to put it together yourself and know where everything goes before you go. Number two, do not overpack. That was my problem. I definitely overpacked. I didn't realize how much I overpacked until it was time to go and we were packing up everything. And I'm like, why did I bring this much? I brought like a week's worth of food for 3 days, 2 nights and 3 days. Like I really bought a week's worth of food, but I didn't know, and it didn't look like I was bringing a whole bunch of food. I even wrote down like what we were going to have on Friday, what we were going to have on Saturday, and what we were going to have on Sunday. But like, I just really went overboard with how much food I bought. That's like the only thing that I really overpacked. Everything else was essential, but I did go heavy-handed on the food. So my suggestion number 2 is do not overpack. Do not. It makes everything so much more harder when you're making the transport. So just bring what you need. I mean, you can bring a little more snacks or whatever, but I brought a week's worth of food for 3 days. So I bought 7 days worth of food. That's a lot. But like I said, I didn't realize that at first. So yeah. But now that I know, I'm gonna tell y'all. All right, so number 3 is to continuously check the weather. Now don't get me wrong, the weather do be wonky. The weather people they don't necessarily be lying, but that's what it come off as. Like they're mistaken. Okay, I'll just say that they make mistakes like we all do. But sometimes the weather is wrong and they'll call for rain and it won't rain. It'll just be looking like it's gonna rain. But continuously check the weather and go off of that. If the weather is calling for rain, then you need to go and plan to set your tent up while it's not raining or when it stops raining before it actually starts raining, so you don't get caught in the rain. Okay, we would have been good had we came later or waited to set up the tent later until after it rained, because it did end up stopping raining, but we were already packed up. And I was like, really? It's really going to stop raining right now. We're already packed. I'm not about to unpack. But yeah, number 4 is to, if you go in the rain, have appropriate rain gear. Now, if I was to do it all over again in the rain, knowing what I know, like if you go in the rain, have appropriate rain gear, like the rain ponchos, the umbrellas, rain boots, rain, whatever, anything for the rain that you have, bring it. Excuse me. I would even suggest bringing it just in case, because if you're in Virginia, this weather is you will have 4 seasons in one day sometimes. So just make sure you bring, have appropriate rain gear. Okay. Bring stuff to hang. My number 5 is to bring something to hang your wet stuff on. So that's another thing that we didn't really note to bring. Like, we had rope in the car, but we didn't really have like the clothespins or like anything really. But yeah, so bring something to hang your wet stuff on so that it can dry. You don't have to just sit it on anything, whatever you can find. So yeah, that's my number 5. Number 6, bring a change of shoes. Like I mentioned, it rained, and it didn't just rain a little bit, light rain, like they were calling for. The weather called for light rain. It was pouring heavy rain. So yeah, bring an extra change of shoes. Or like what I would have did is I brought some extra like Food Lion bags just so they could like tie it around their shoes or whatnot, but didn't even get the chance to do that. So yeah, have something to put your wet stuff on, and bring a change of shoes, because the shoes got so wet just from making the commute to the car, from the car to the camp, back and forth, just bringing the stuff in and out of the car. So yeah, the shoes ended up getting wet. So bring a change of shoes. Number 7 is to bring extra towels or microfiber towels or cloths, or bring just extra, particularly something like that, like a microfiber cloth or a towel, so that you can so that it can be stepped on before you get into the tent. Another thing that I noticed is, like, once I got the tent up and the kids wanted to go in and out, like, their shoes are wet, so they took their shoes off. But, getting in and out of the tent, like, their feet was dirty, and they were like flicking, kind of water was getting into the tent just from them coming in and out or opening the tent and stuff like that. So yeah, I would say, like, have a towel so that they can just like scrape their feet off, or wet their feet on something and just clean their feet off. Just have some extra towels or something so they can step on, so that they're not bringing in dirt and water inside the tent, or you're not. My number 8, did I skip anything? My tip number 8 is to, and this is optional. My tip number 8 is optional, but it's to invest in a portable wagon so that the transport from and to and from isn't multiple trips. Like, I think we did like 5, maybe more, just getting there. So yeah. An outdoor umbrella that would have saved us, like, from being so wet. It's just to have like an umbrella so that the tent can be mostly under there, so it's so that our stuff won't get wet. But having that camping or that outdoor umbrella tent thing, I think would be a really good investment. And it's like a long-term investment. Like, it's like a one-time purchase, and you'll have that for forever. And it doesn't just have to be used for camping. You can use it for any outdoor event, so it works. My other thing is optional too, but it kind of works in with my tip number 7, but is to bring extra tarps, because if you have 2 extra large extra tarps, one can be used to put over your tent, one could be used to lay down in front of the tent, so it's easier to get on and off and out and in of the tent. So yeah, I mean, those are my 8, just from going for that one day. Everything else, like, I feel like I did correctly. The biggest thing for me is not putting up the tent beforehand, and not knowing how to put the tent up when I actually got there, and not being able to look up a video on it because I couldn't pull my phone out because it was so wet and rainy. Like, I couldn't put my phone out. But yeah, so those are my 8 things. Overall, it was actually kind of fun. The kids enjoyed themselves. Their pros and cons was they got to make s'mores. They got to be outside. The excitement of possibly living in a tent for a couple days was fun for them. The cons that they didn't like that their shoes got wet. Every single one of them said that, which I completely understand. The next time, like if you don't have rain boots, you can take like a Food Lion bag or a regular, trash bag, and put it over your shoe or put it on your hair, so that you don't have to worry about your shoes getting wet and muddy. And the only thing you would have to do is just take off the bag, and you would just have a dirty wet bag instead of dirty wet shoes. So that's kind of like something that you guys can do. You can use that tip. So that is those are the 8 things that I wish I knew beforehand, or that I wish I did do beforehand. But these are my 8 suggestions for you guys to just take and use before you decide that you want to go camping, especially in the rain. So without further ado, cool cats, go enjoy the rest of your day. If you celebrate whatever you celebrate today, just make sure you celebrate you. Make sure you enjoy your own company, and make sure you are in good spirits, good company, and high hopes. Okay? Sending lots of love your way, cool cats. Peace.